described Lawrence as touched by God. Concerts held with the event's moderator, Lawrence admitted her lack of formal training before landing her first roles. She said, however, the Hunger Games has turned tables for her, giving her a break from it. Droy, paano naman? So, intro title card.
Baka live ba si David direct? Oh.
David lang.
David live. 45 na. Master.
Damage. Called by the ground. Please. Hindi ako.
In today's solar headlines, the U.S. government reiterates its commitment to pay for the USS Guardian's damage on Tuba Taha as the destruction on the reef expands. The COMELEC vows to address glitches in the weekend mock polls to ensure smooth elections in May. The two Filipino crew released by the Abu Sayyaf are now under the custody of the PNP. The Jordanian journalist who hired the crew remains missing. And a Chinese Navy fleet conducts combat training in the West Philippine Sea.
Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez and you're watching Solar Newsday. U.S. government vows to pay for the damage caused by the grounding of the USS Guardian on the Tuba Taha Reef. It also plans a number of other activities to underscore its commitment to Tuba Taha's recovery. David Santos is reporting live from Palawan to tell us more. Go ahead, David.
Well, Mai, though efforts are still ongoing to retrieve the grounded USS Guardian, the U.S. government has assured it is taking responsibility for the consequences of the Tuba Taha Reef incident. In a statement issued on Sunday, the U.S. government, through its embassy in Manila, reiterated its regret over the incident and said it would provide appropriate compensation to the Philippines for the damages the minesweeper has caused inside the protected area of the marine park. In addition to this, the U.S. government will also fund a number of programs to ensure the recovery of the Tuba Taha Reef. These actions will include holding consultations with local marine experts to discuss the best options to restore and rehabilitate the Tuba Taha and also release a 4 million peso grant to a Philippine university that will support coral restoration research. U.S. is also forming a team of interdisciplinary scientific experts that will look at the damage at the marine park and remediation options in coordination with local government and private organizations. U.S. is also offering to fund a site survey that should improve the existing ranger station in the Tuba Taha by installing radars and communication equipment to assist park rangers and the Philippine Coast Guard in avoiding future collisions as well as keep a watch on poachers. The statement also pointed out that the U.S. government, through its donor agency, the USAID, has invested close to 2 billion pesos in the past decade to support marine biodiversity conservation programs in the Philippines. The latest pronouncement can be seen as US's way of driving the message that despite the flack it has been getting because of the incident, it should be also pointed out that the American government has always been supportive of its bilateral cooperation in science and technology with the Philippines through its assistance agreements. Meanwhile, Mai, there is still no word on when the proper dismantling of the USS Guardian will begin. One of the two heavy cranes contracted by the U.S. military has arrived here in Puerto Princesa on Sunday, but the Coast Guard is saying that the schedule for the deployment of the SMIT Borneo to the Tuba Taha Reef has yet to be finalized. Both Philippines and U.S. officials have earlier said that removing the Guardian from the reef will take at least more than a month. Mai?
Thank you, David. David Santos there reporting to us live from Palawan. Authorities now estimate the damage to the Tubataha Reef has expanded to 4,000 square meters and will only get bigger the longer the USS Guardian stays in that area. George Cahiles has this report from Puerto Princesa, Palawan.
The Tubataha Protected Area Management Board says each day that the USS Guardian remains on the Tubataha Reef, the damage gets more extensive. From the initially assessed 1,000 square meters of damage, 18 days after the USS Guardian sat aground on the Tubataha Reef, the total estimated damage to the protected area is now at 4,000 square meters. Since the dive season at the Tubataha Reef will start a month from now, the TPAMB fears that the number of tourists that will visit the area will be affected.
Nagwo-worry na nga kami kasi yung site kung nasaan sila, kung saan gagawa sila ng napakalaking operation, salvage operations, is a site where we dive. So marami ng mga dive operators ang nagtatanong ngayon, ito-close ba yung site na yun, mabawasan ba yung dive sites natin sa lugar and all that.
And up to now, there is no definite date or time when the removal operations will start. President Aquino wants to see a time frame of the salvage operation, but the U.S. Navy as well as a task force to Bataha have yet to produce it.
Everything again is weather dependent and dependent on the material condition of the ship. Right now our naval architects and engineers are still refining the plan that's necessary, but this is a very complex and dynamic.
Timelines, of course, we're very dependent on the sea condition. Hopefully by March, magsimula na gumanda ang sea condition dun sa area.
So sir, aabutin pa ng summer. Technically, kung parang ganun yung lumalabas?
Sana hindi na.
Pero posible, sir.
Maaari, oh.
With this, the TPAMB is starting to be impatient as they remain clueless about the U.S. Navy's salvage plan.
Alam mo, hinihintay natin kung ano yung buong plano para gawin. Because right now, hindi ko alam kung what that operation will entail.
After several days of delay, the SMIT Borneo has finally arrived here at the Puerto Princesa port, and as you can see, this salvage vessel has a barge that carries the crane and being pulled by a tugboat. And according to the authorities, the delay is caused by the unfavorable sea condition from Singapore going here to Palawan. Task Force to Bataha says the SMIT Borneo will immediately do its work after some procedural checks at the port. However, the Philippine government has yet to formally approve the U.S. Navy salvage plan.
So far, according kay Command, that is approved by principal, so kailangan lang ng further validation by the department.
Once the U.S. Navy gets salvage permit from the Philippine government, the Philippine Coast Guard says the weather and the sea conditions will then be considered in extricating the USS Guardian. From a Coast Guard official who recently joined the operations at the Tubataha Reef,
yung 6-day stay namin doon, actually, 2 days lang yung magandang panahon. Yung the last 4 days, medyo what we did is magtago lang kasi masyado magalaw yung dagat.
So sir, pag ganun, ano po nangyayari kapag magalaw ang dagat?
Basically, hindi sila makapag-work doon on board Guardian. No? Kasi hampasin lang na alon yun. No? The existing wind right now is amihan. So even the divers cannot work. I think so, kasi nga medyo magalaw yung dagat noon, work. So we have to wait yung summer, March, the month of March, mag-start na yan, mag-settle down. During the diving season, I think it will start March.
For some, the USS Guardian atop the Tubataha Reef may be an added attraction, but for the TPAMB, the value of the marine species that are being destroyed each day is irreplaceable.
It's a novelty, oo. Well, in fact, sa natin, added attractions. Pero hindi siya nakakatuwa kasi nakita natin yung pwedeng mangyari pag nag-salvage sila. Lalaki pa ng lalaki lalo yung area of coverage. So, iiwasan yun di ba? Iiwasan ng mga dive operators. Alam mo yung para siyang araro doon sa ilalim, gumugulong-gulong siya doon sa at tinatamaan niya yung mga live corals.
International and local agencies like UNESCO and Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources have expressed intent to help in assessing the marine damage caused by the incident. But for the protectors of the reef, the nightmare brought by the grounding of the USS Guardian will only end once the ship is totally gone and when there will be an assurance that the protected area will be safe from intrusions of unwanted tourists. George Cahiles, Solar News, Puerto Princesa City, Palawan.
The Commission on Elections says the mock polls over the weekend were successful but admits there are some glitches that need to be dealt with. COMELEC Chairman Sixto Brillantes is confident these glitches will be addressed in time for the May 13 polls. Camille Elemia has more.
The Commission on Elections says the mock polls conducted last Saturday was successful despite minor glitches. The COMELEC maintains problems encountered will not affect the accuracy of the counting, nor will it affect the elections this May.
No. The mock elections anyway was not really more for the count, no? But more for the testing of the first time. Matagal tayo nakapagpahinga eh. So our machines have been out since 2010. So now, umiinit na yan. Yung sinabi ko naman kaninang umaga eh. Ngayon, umiinit na yan. Definitely insignificant. Kasi yun naman, umpisa lang yun eh. Definitely insignificant. These are not the major. Ang major is actually yung mga kung maraming reject. Diba? Pero ito, nag-umpisa na. Nakita nyo naman, hindi naman rin eh. So, umpisa lang. Pero nung gumalaw na, tuloy-tuloy na yan. Paisa-isa lang.
The COMELEC says the mock polls are part of the process of streamlining the election system for a problem-free election this May 2013. The COMELEC chose a total of 10 poll areas with 2 precincts for each area for the exercise. These areas include Quezon City, Manila, Iriga City, Bato, Dumaguete City, Santa Catalina, Cagayan de Oro, Initaw, Bongao, Tawi-Tawi, and Buluan, Maguindanao. The list of voters in the mock polls includes the actual registered voters from the selected areas. Minor glitches were observed as early as the initialization period of the PICOS machines. This includes activating the machine and cleaning the data from the machine to ensure no candidate has extra votes. In P. Bernardo High School in Bagong Lipunan and Crame, an error with the thermal paper's thickness ensued. At the UPIS, ballots of the voters were not accepted by the machine. As a standard procedure, the faulty PICOS machine was replaced and sent to COMELEC technicians for repair.
Sinusubo namin ganun, wala. Ayaw pumasok yung...
Ano po yung ayaw pumasok?
Yung papel.
Meron tayong allotment per region or per polling place, per polling center, no? On election day, magkakaroon tayo ng mga staging hubs sa mga iba't ibang regions. Ang guarantee natin is replacement within 2 hours.
Some areas, including the UPIS precinct, also experienced slight transmission problems due to signal, but data were eventually successfully sent to the servers. COMELEC admits non-transmission of election returns to designated servers is a major problem, but says they are working on it.
O naman, may konti. Pero yung sinasabing transmission, hindi naman ko. Tumitigil ko minsan, depende sa timing. Ang transmission depends on so many things. And that's why this is what we're improving on, yung transmission.
For Brillantes, the only low point in the whole mock election process is the low voter turnout. Despite all these, COMELEC is confident these problems will be solved come election time. But PPCRV Chair Henrietta De Villa believes otherwise. With only 3 months left, De Villa says the COMELEC is not completely ready yet for the upcoming polls. She adds COMELEC should strictly follow their schedule as the country can no longer afford delays. Among the problems in the mock polls, De Villa says, are voters' use of mobile phones and bringing of children in poll precincts. With these, De Villa strongly suggests to COMELEC to designate a holding area for children and to ban use of phones or electronic devices inside poll precincts to avoid vote buying and selling. Camille Elemia, Solar News.
The Commission on Elections says government employees are not allowed to be transferred during the election period from January 13 until June 12, except when the poll body authorizes it. The COMELEC's Resolution 9581 also states that no person can suspend any elective official unless the person violated the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. In addition, beginning March 29 until May 13, no head or appointing officer of any national or local government office can appoint or hire any new employee. Also, government officials are not allowed to promote or give any salary increases to any government employee during the election period. Malacanang reiterates President Aquino has no plans to certify the Freedom of Information Bill as urgent despite calls from the president's allies. Some lawmakers say a presidential certification may be the only option left to have the measure passed before Congress adjourns on Wednesday. Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Abigail Valtes says the president wants to see a, quote, healthy debate on the plenary on the FOI bill. Militant farmers from Negros Occidental stormed Agrarian Reform Secretary Virgilio de los Reyes' press conference in Quezon City today. The farmers, who have long been clamoring for land distribution as promised by the Aquino administration, also demanded the ouster of de los Reyes. Kimberly Go is on the line from Quezon City to tell us more. Kim, what's the situation there?
9 farmers groups stormed the signing of the Memorandum of Agreement between the Department of Agrarian Reform and the Farmers and Landless Rural Workers Council of the National Anti-Poverty Commission at the Quezon City Circle. Task Force Mapalad demanded DOR Secretary Virgilio de los Reyes' resignation right after the signing of the MOA. TFM President Alberto Jaime said they don't believe that de los Reyes is doing his job well and that they are against the agreement between NAPC and DOR. The MOA signed between NAPC and DOR, the Social Covenant on Fast-Tracking LTI-LAD 2013 and beyond, will cover 40 provinces nationwide involving 25 farmer federations. It aims to fast-track the completion of the CARPER, or Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program extension with reforms. De los Reyes clarifies that TFM are composed mainly of farmers from the Negros Occidental area. He says it is true that the accomplishments in the Negros Occidental lands are going slow due to the titled private lands, which are harder to acquire. But despite this, the balanced accomplishments are moving forward and that they are preparing well for this and have had dialogues with the TFM even before. De los Reyes also commented on the issue of the Catholic Bishop Conference of the Philippines statement, also asking him to step down from his position. De los Reyes says that it is up to the president to decide whether or not he should resign. He defends that DOR management to answer questions and that no other DOR management has begun to look inside the folders of these acquisitions. De los Reyes says there is no agrarian reform crisis and that the government has political will to complete the land distribution component of the program before Aquino's term ends in 2016. He disputes there is nothing in the law that states DOR cannot distribute CARP-covered lands beyond June 2014. De los Reyes says he has been trying to have a dialogue with CBCP, but CBCP has yet to give him time for this.
Thank you, Kim. That was Kimberly Go on the line from Quezon City. In other news, a Chinese Navy fleet conducted combat training in the West Philippine Sea over the weekend. 3 helicopters located targets in air and under the sea and sent the locations back to the fleet for missile launching. The Chinese Navy is expected to carry out more patrol missions and multi-type exercises in the disputed waters over the next few days. A Malaysian broadsheet said Sabah Chief Minister Datuk Seri Musa Aman admitted his kinship to Filipino Manuel Amalillo, who is wanted in the Philippines for a multi-billion peso pyramiding scam. The Sabah official, however, denied allegations. He blocked Amalillo's deportation to Manila. Musa said he only recently learned about his family ties to Amalillo, whom he described as a, quote, distant relative. The state minister explained he learned of Amalillo's arrest only through news reports and assured that the Sabah state government will not intervene on the matter. The Abu Sayyaf released the 2 Filipino crew of Jordanian journalist Bakir Atiani over the weekend after 7 months in captivity. Police said cameraman Ramel Vela and audio technician Roland Letriro were allegedly left behind by the Abu Sayyaf during a gun battle with members of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front in Patikul, Sulu. Regional Police Chief Noel de los Reyes, however, said it is not yet clear how the 2 were released, but clarified no ransom was paid. The 2 were immediately taken to a hospital in southern Sulu for a checkup. Atiani and his crew were abducted in June last year after reportedly meeting with militants for an interview. The Jordanian national is still believed to be in the hands of the bandit group. The two crew members of Jordanian journalist Baker Atyani, who were freed by the Abu Sayyaf over the weekend, is now with the PNP's anti-kidnapping group in Camp Crame. Miguel Ortilla is reporting live from Camp Crame to give us the details. Miguel?
Yes, Mai, before 11 in the morning today, the two hostages that were recently released by the Abu Sayyaf were here at the anti-kidnapping group headquarters in Camp Crame. Rolando Letrero and Ramelito Vela were flown to Manila from Zamboanga City today after the release last Saturday, where they were first brought to the Armed Forces Command headquarters in Zamboanga for stress debriefing and also for medical checkup. We noticed, Mai, that one of them, Ramelito Vela, had to be carried on his way to the anti-kidnapping group office. Earlier, it was reported that during his last weeks in captivity, their captors had to put him on a horse since he could hardly walk. The two are now here in Camp Crame for another set of stress debriefing, and according to authorities, they will also be asked as to the details of their 7-month stay with the Abu Sayyaf. PNP spokesman, Chief Superintendent Generoso Serbo, told us earlier that police are hoping that the who can help the anti-kidnapping group operatives get possible leads to the whereabouts of Jordanian journalist Baker Atyani, who is still believed to be held captive by the Abu Sayyaf. We are still waiting here outside the anti-kidnapping group office, Mai. According to General Serbo, they're still discussing if they will be presenting the two hostages to members of the media, as we also want to ask them several questions if they know the whereabouts of Atyani and if the reports are true that ransom was paid. And also we want to clarify if indeed Atyani already joined members of the Abu Sayyaf as earlier reported. We were also talking to Senior Superintendent Renato Gumban, the head of the AKG, earlier. He says the two hostages would probably just stay here in Crame for 1 day for questioning, and they will also be sent home today. Mai?
Miguel, how did the two crew members look? Did they lose a considerable amount of weight, or did they look weak to you?
All right. Looking back at former pictures of them before they were held captive by the Abu Sayyaf, the build, it looks like they really lost a lot of weight. And what we noticed really, Mai, is as we mentioned earlier, Ramelito Vela, he is the cameraman of Baker Atyani. He had to be carried into the AKG headquarters. He was brought out of the van that brought them here, and then he couldn't walk. He couldn't really walk. But for the other, the assistant cameraman, Rolando Letrero, he looked okay. He even opened the door and carried his own luggage as he entered to the AKG office. But again, we are hoping that they will be presented to us later so we can also ask how they are doing. Mai?
Miguel, any word on Baker Atyani? Did they mention when did they last see the Jordanian journalist?
All right. In past interviews, Mai, that when the two camera crew were still in Zamboanga City and also in Sulu, there are reports that according to them, the last time that they saw Atyani was 5 days after they were held captive. And if you look at past stories of hostages taken by the Abu Sayyaf, the real strategy that they do is they separate their hostages also as to confuse their whereabouts. So it's probable that this is also what happened here. And as I said earlier, according to them, the last time they saw the Jordanian was 5 days after they were held captive. They were held captive on June 12. So if you do the math, it's been several months, 6 months since they last saw Atyani. Mai?
All right, thank you, Miguel. That was Miguel Ortilla reporting to us from Camp Crame. Up next, former Super Bowl head coach Bill Parcells is inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Solar Newsday will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Paraguay, the government declared 3 days of mourning and suspended all official activities as the country grieves the death of presidential candidate Lino Oviedo, who died in a helicopter crash over the weekend. Oviedo was traveling to northern Paraguay for a campaign event when the accident happened. The country's Civil Aeronautics Administration said it ordered a search when air controllers lost contact with the helicopter. Oviedo was a retired general who helped in the 1989 coup that ended the 35-year dictatorship of Alfredo Stroessner. Let's begin with tennis. Canada secures a spot in the quarterfinals of the Davis Cup after beating Spain 6-3, 6-4, 6-2. Spaniard Guillermo Garcia Lopez had no answer to Milos Raonic's powerful serves and smashes. Raonic unleashed 22 aces overall and surrendered only one break point. Canada will face Italy in the next round. In football, former Super Bowl winning head coach Bill Parcells joined 6 former players into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the sports' greatest individual honor. The panel spent more than 8 hours to decide on the lineup, with an hour alone debating whether to include Parcells in the prestigious recognition. Parcells led the New York Giants to 2 Super Bowl titles during his 19-year career. Parcells, along with Larry Allen, Jonathan Ogden, Warren Sapp, Chris Carter, Curly Culp, and Dave Robinson, will be enshrined into the Hall of Fame in August. News now. A new study showed vegetarians were 1/3 less likely to be hospitalized or die from heart disease than those who eat meat and fish. Researchers said the lower risk was likely due to lower cholesterol and blood pressure levels. They added this was probably partly due to the lack of red meat, especially meat that's high in saturated fat, and extra fruits and vegetables in their diet. They advise scaling back on saturated fat such as butter, ice cream, cheeses, and meats. In another study, people who enjoy yoga may be in for more benefits than just a relaxed mind and body. Doctors say yoga can also help people with irregular heart rhythms and can reduce their visits to the emergency room when symptoms flare up. A check on the weather now. It will be partly cloudy across the country as warm easterly winds affect weather conditions, particularly in the eastern section of the archipelago. Expect isolated rains or thunderstorms over Cagayan Valley, Aurora, Quezon, the Bicol region, eastern Visayas, the Caraga region, and the Davao region. Down south, Compostela Valley and Davao Oriental will be partly cloudy with just a few rains until Wednesday. A gale warning is up over the northern and eastern seaboards of southern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Fishing boats and other small vessels are advised not to venture out to sea. And checking today's temperatures in the metro, it will range from 23 to 32 degrees Celsius. Let's check what's happening on the road around the metro. On the line is Vincent Lizada from the MMDA Metro Base. Go ahead, Vincent.
Yes, magandang hapon sa iyo, Miss Mai, at sa mga nanonood po sa Solar News. Ang kalagayan po ng trapiko sa EDSA sa southbound po yan, light to moderate po yan. At ang pagmomoderate po ng daloy ng trapiko, magmumula po dyan sa New York hanggang Aurora Tunnel. At dito po sa may Connecticut hanggang makalampas po yan ng Rochester. Samantalang ang EDSA northbound po natin, light traffic po yan. Ang C5 po natin, ang southbound at ang northbound po niyan, light traffic po, magkabilang panig ng C5. Gayon din po ang Commonwealth po natin, yung eastbound at ang westbound po niyan, pareho pong light traffic ang mararanasan. Samantalang ang kahabaan po ng Rojas Boulevard po natin, ang northbound po niyan, moderate traffic po yan sa may Katigbak area. Gayon din po yung southbound po niyan, moderate traffic din po yan. Pagkalampas po ng Katigbak ay maluwag na po yan hanggang makarating po kayo ng Coastal Road. Yan po ang lagay ng trapiko ngayong tanghaling ito. Mula po dito sa MMDA Metro Base, Vincent Lizada po, Solar News.
Maraming salamat, Vincent, for that traffic update. Entertainment news now. Actor turned filmmaker Ben Affleck wins the top honor at the Directors Guild of America for his worldwide hit Argo. This raises the film's chances for the Oscars, as DGA members are also members of the Academy. Affleck said he is thrilled and honored to be given the recognition. The Academy earlier didn't nominate him for Best Director in what is considered one of the biggest snubs of this year's Oscars. Argo also swept other top awards in the Golden Globes and the Screen Actors Guild. Academy Award nominee Jennifer Lawrence was recognized as the Outstanding Performer of the Year at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. The Silver Linings Playbook star received the award, with director David Russell, who described Lawrence as, quote, touched by God when it comes to her talent. Speaking with the event's moderator, Lawrence admitted her lack of formal training before landing her first few roles. She, however, said the Hunger Games has turned the tables for her and has given her a break from independent films. A sumptuous food fare doesn't always have to include beef or pork. Even in dining, green is definitely in. Here are 3 vegetarian restaurants that serve dishes that are not only healthy, but also bursting with flavor. Do you have your own pick? Send in your suggestions via our Twitter account at Solar TV News or through our Facebook page, Solar News Online. And recapping today's headlines, the U.S. government reiterates its commitment to pay for the USS Guardian's damage on Tubataha as the destruction on the reef expands. The COMELEC vows to address glitches in the weekend mock polls to ensure smooth elections in May. The 2 Filipino crew released by the Abu Sayyaf are now under the PNP's custody. The Jordanian journalist who hired the crew remains missing. And a Chinese Navy fleet conducts combat training in the West Philippine Sea. And those are the stories today. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Join us again same time tomorrow here on the Solar News channel. Stay tuned for Solar News Cebuano coming your way shortly. Have a good day.